Hello, my name is Sarah Curtis, and this is my persuasive speech. Here is my audience members. The 2017 International Public Health article describes the story of a young boy named Braxton. Braxton was a once healthy 2.5-year-old kid who began to have pain in his ear. His parents assumed it was a common ear infection, but took him to the doctors anyways. The doctors found out that Braxton had MRSA, a potentially deadly bacterial infection that is resistant to most common antibiotics. Doctors had very little choice of what to do about this problem, but decided to put him on an intense course of IV antibiotics. As the weeks progressed and his symptoms didn't get any better, his parents started to understand how critical this situation really was. Finally, the doctors told Braxton's parents that the only option to cure his MRSA was to try a new drug that had not been FDA approved and may damage his internal organs. His parents didn't have much options, so they decided to try it. And luckily, Braxton did heal from MRSA, but was left with permanent hearing loss in his left ear that led to long-term speech and developmental problems. But Braxton's parents consider him lucky, and most people aren't this lucky. In 2021, the CDC article with unknown author states that antibiotic resistance is an urgent public health issue, having killed 1.2 million people worldwide. Today, I'm going to convince you on why antibiotic-resistant bacteria is a public health issue that must be dealt with immediately. I will do this by explaining why antibiotic resistance is a problem, how it is caused by the misuse and overuse of antibiotics, and finally, my proposal to the situation. The 2021 CDC article by unknown authors explained that antibiotic resistance happens when a germ, like bacteria, develops the ability to defeat the drugs that usually kill them. These bacteria survive and continue to grow stronger and resistant. As they become more resistant, it becomes very difficult, if not almost impossible, to kill these bacteria. Most people with these types of infection require long hospital stays with dangerous alternatives that often cause more problems. All of these problems cause poor health outcomes and often can cause death. The CDC even found that more than 2.8 million infections occur in the U.S. and 35,000 deaths annually. The IDSA, in their 2020 article by unknown authors, tells stories of victims of this infection. Meredith Littlejohn, 19 years old, was a college student and a cancer survivor who lost her life due to an antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Those who don't lose their life are often left with debilitating lifelong problems, like David Ritchie, the 19-year-old boy from Seattle who survived his infection but lost his leg in the process. In addition, the IDSA states that antibiotics are vital in healthcare, and if it loses its effectiveness, patients won't be able to receive the care that they need. Common procedures like joint replacements, cancer treatments, and organ transplants all require antibiotics to be successful. If antibiotics lose their effectiveness, patients will increase their chance of getting these antibiotic-resistant bacteria and won't be able to follow through with regular procedures. Now that I've explained to you why antibiotic resistance is a problem, I'm going to discuss the causes of this problem. As explained by the WHO in their 2021 article, The biggest cause to antibiotic-resistant bacterial infection is the misuse and overuse of antibiotics. The CDC actually found that 5 out of 6 people are prescribed antibiotics each year, but 30% of those are unnecessary. Consumption has increased 65% in 2000 to 2015. Many times, doctors will prescribe antibiotics without testing their infection first. If you have a viral infection, like the cold or the flu, antibiotics won't do anything to help you. The only type of infection that antibiotics fix is bacterial infections. But again, most times doctors don't test for the type. Parents also often ask for antibiotics for their children as they think it's going to make them better. But in reality, it's leading to this problem. In addition, misuse of antibiotics also contributes to this problem, like not finishing a full dose of antibiotics, stopping halfway through, saving them for later, giving them to friends. All this misuse leads to the rise of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. And finally, the last cause to this epidemic is the lack of new drugs. Pharmaceutical companies are not encouraged financially to create and develop new antibiotics. Drugs that are used for diabetes and hypertension make a lot of money, but antibiotics don't. So now that I've talked to you about the causes of antibiotic-resistant bacterial infections, I'm now going to discuss with you my solution to the problem. First, I believe that the government should regulate prescriptions by requiring doctors to test the infection prior to giving antibiotics. This will prevent the overuse of antibiotics and unnecessary use for viral infections. Secondly, I will encourage new drugs to be formed by giving tax breaks and incentives to companies that do decide to invest in the creation of new antibiotics. In addition to the government, we can do things to stop the spread. Do not request antibiotics. Take the prescriptions as needed and make sure your doctor tests you prior to prescription. Today, I've hopefully persuaded you all to take the threat of antibiotic-resistant bacteria seriously. I explained that antibiotic resistance is a type of infection that cannot be treated by common antibiotics. I explained that it is caused by the overprescription and lack of new drugs. And finally, I proposed a solution through government regulations of testing requirements and tax breaks for drug companies to create new antibiotics. I also told you how you can prevent the overuse of antibiotics. So the next time you feel sick, make sure you advocate for yourself, request testing, encourage safe use, because it quite literally can save your life.